Night Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, Renee Barnett.
I felt like I was hearing double there for a minute. Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad that you could join us tonight. If this is your first time being here, I'm Renee Barnett, your host. Okay, I'm hearing myself back. I think we'll take a quick break and fix this, and we'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Hey guys, sorry for those technical issues. Let's start again. My name is Renee Barnett and I'm your host for Night Vision. If this is your first time here, you're very welcome. And especially you're welcome if this is not your first time here and you actually went to the trouble to come back. Now, we've got a great show planned for tonight. We've got an art, I call her an art expert. She calls herself an art enthusiast, but in my book, she's an expert because she knows a heck of a lot more than I do, and that's for sure. But we're going to hear her talk about and show us some images, some old art images, and explain some of the meaning behind them, and also some of the sort of almost outrageous nature of some of the art that, and I do have to say that as much as I have looked into this subject matter of Renaissance art and art connected with this so-called overarching bloodline mystery, Rennes Chateau mystery, I'm seeing things, Lisa is showing me things that I have not seen before. So I'm really excited about that. And I know you will be too when you get a chance to look. Now, I had my friend from Poland, the doctor from Poland, Jacek Gilsinski on a couple weeks ago, and he talked about some of the efforts that they were making to help the refugees from Ukraine. Well, we know now that there have been about 3 million people that have left, and I believe at least 2 million have gone into Poland. And so those guys are working really, really hard. And our dear beloved historian, James Martin, has really been rallying the forces in the UK and in France. He's got a couple of things going on. And so I thought it would be fun to hear from him. And I asked him to do a little video and tell us what he's been up to. So stand by for that.
Hi everyone, it's James, Night Vision historian. I just thought I'd give you a quick update on my travels. So at present, I'm in a place called Brough, in a cottage that sits on top of Hadrian's Wall. In fact, on top of what was called a Mile Castle. So all very exciting. I've travelled across the northeast of England too, looking at 3 Templars, 3 Templar Knights, as well as identifying whether or not a site was Templar or Hospitaller. Bad news, everyone, it was Hospitaller. Or good news, everyone, it was Hospitaller. It depends on what your take is. I thought I'd also give you an update on what I've been doing with regards to the Ukraine. So I've been coordinating a group of people from France, Poland, Romania, and the UK. Coordinating donations of money, food, supplies, medical supplies, over to not the front line, but I suppose Europe's front line, where refugees are crossing the border. 3 truckloads of donations have been sent. That includes medical supplies, long-lasting food, some cots, some prams, and some other provisions, some clothing, etc. For those who are donating, thank you very much. And for those in Europe, foodstuffs, long-lasting foodstuffs are absolutely needed in Ukraine at the moment. For those a little further afield, or perhaps can't send things over to Europe as easily, then monetary donations. And there are 3 groups that we've been working with here in Europe. One is the ITUC, the International Trade Union Congress, who've set up a fund for its members in Romania, Poland, and even in Ukraine. In France, the French state has set up a fund which it's distributing monies to a number of charities and its own people on the ground on the border and on the borders, I should say, with Ukraine. And in the UK, the Disasters Emergency Committee has also been raising funds alongside many others. What we've been trying to do is look for those places where donations are received, but they're not going back into the charity. They're really hitting people on the front line. So any generosity, anything that you can give to those people in Ukraine who are facing yet another illegal invasion in our time by the Russian state, any support that you can give to them, I'm sure will be really helpful. We'll do what we can here. And if you can do what you can where you are, wherever you are around the world, I know it will be received. I hope to see you next week with some updates on my adventures, maybe a little bit more on the Knights Templar, who knows. I love you all, guys. I will speak to you soon. Bye.
We love you too. So thank you very much to James for preparing that little video for me today at the last minute. I really appreciate it because I wanted to get the word out once again that anybody that wants to help. Another thing you can do is simply email James at captainjamesmartin@gmail.com. captainjamesmartin@gmail.com. And depending on what you're sending or what you'd like to do, he can direct you to one of those few agencies that he's working with. He went to a lot of trouble to ensure that the agencies were actually putting the money to the people and not taking it for their big whopping salaries and whatever else that they might be doing to keep their charities afloat. These are volunteers that are working and getting things done. You guys, if you were here a couple of weeks ago, you met Jacek, and he's working steadily. He's got people right there on the border that are meeting people as they come across. As are so many volunteers. I mean, my goodness, Poland has risen to the occasion like it's just beyond belief. And it's as much as the strength of the Ukrainian people. So we wish everyone all the best. We wish peace in the world. And with that, I would like to introduce my guest for tonight, Lisa Michelle. Hey there.
Hi, Renee. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. I thank you so much. We almost met in person one time.
That close.
Yeah. It was funny because you were down at my friend Jeannie's house.
Mm-hmm.
Jeannie says, I've got some people around. You want to come around? And I'm going, no, I'm just. And then later I found out it was you, and I was getting ready to go because I thought, oh, yeah, because she'd been telling me, we should meet. And she said, oh, they're gone. So anyway, I missed out, but maybe next time around, maybe we'll run into each other.
Definitely. And we don't have to run into each other. We can plan it.
That's right. I know you work in a museum.
I do.
But I think that it might not be related to the kind of art and things that we're going to be looking at tonight. Is that a correct statement?
That is an accurate statement 99% of the way. I work at the Strong National Museum of Play, and we actually hold and care for the world's largest collection of toys, games, dolls, and archives related to play. And so we're looking at paintings, and painting and art are forms of play. So I would say in some small ways, it does relate to my museum, but all of the art in our collection has to show something playful. And so it might be a beautiful oil painting of children playing in a field, or maybe it's even equestrians, and that's the kind of play. So we have a little correlation, but we're a history museum as opposed to a fine art museum.
Wonderful, wonderful. And now, what got you hooked into the subject? Court Lindahl told me earlier, I guess it was yesterday, he said, she's the only other person I know that's been to Rennes-le-Château more times than you have. And I said, I bet I've been going a lot longer, but you probably have beat me a number of times. But
I used to say that I'm not a Rennie. I started out as a Henny because meeting Henry Lincoln.
Oh, that's funny.
Was how I got into the whole Rennes-le-Château thing. When I was at university, I was taking a class. It was the translation of the Latin Vulgate. And it was a wonderful class where the ancient Greek scholars and the biblical Hebrew scholars and like all the different in the Latin scholars got together in one room. And we would look at the Vulgate, take it back to the original languages, and think about what were the political and social motivations for the words that were chosen and for the words that were left out. And one of the overarching themes of the class was that the way you interpret, not necessarily translate, but the way that you interpret things can have a long-lasting effect. And there are some very unorthodox ways to interpret words that someone else might interpret another way. And so we had this assignment in the midst of all the actual translating to look at a modern, unorthodox interpretation or enactment of religious texts. And, I had read the Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and I was writing about that. And I remember I didn't know who Henry was. There wasn't a ton of internet presence.
For those who might not know, she's talking about Henry Lincoln, who is the Grand Master of the Rennes-le-Château mystery, as I always say. And we lost Henry a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. We'll see him again one day. But he, along with writers Richard Lee and Michael Bagent, released a book in 1982 called Holy Blood, Holy Grail, which was so heretical and so dynamic. I mean, it really caused a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
Across the world. And I read it back then. And of course, I had to reread it later. And because nothing really meant that much, it was just all new stuff at the time. I do remember one thing about it, and it was something that I'll always be grateful for, because that was the first time that the idea that Mary Magdalene was not just, some prostitute,
right?
But yet she was very important. She was a partner, and she was, very, very important in herself. And, I'm a little bit older than you. Well, maybe a lot older. Okay. But anyhow, when I was growing up, I knew very early on, it's a lot better to be a boy. It's easier to be a boy.
More fun sometimes too back then.
Exactly. Oh, sometimes, all the time. And, and so it gave me the opportunity to really imagine that maybe women are equal. Maybe women are, to be respected. And, it really did something for me. And I felt like in rehabilitating the image of Mary Magdalene, it sort of rehabilitated us all.
It did.
At least, in my way of thinking. It was a very moving thing. It was sort of a slow dawning, but that's definitely where it started, was with Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Yeah, there had long been, at least in Western Christian culture, that virgin whore dichotomy.
Yes.
You were either the virgin or you were the whore.
That's right.
You were the good mother, or you were the person on your knees washing someone's feet out of penitence with your hair. Yes. So to deconstruct that dichotomy and to say, hey, you aren't one or the other. We're all a little bit of both, and we can be anywhere in the middle, or we can take some to some other extreme, is a powerful message.
It really is. It really is. And then, I know Henry, spent like the next, 50 years or 30 years, whatever it was, poo-pooing Holy Blood. I mean, he never
holy rubbish.
I know it. He never wanted to talk about it. But I would always say, Henry, you've got to admit it had a huge effect, regardless. It got people thinking. It got people interested.
It did.
Questioning.
And I remember, being that college kid writing that paper, and I had questions about the book. And so I literally wrote a letter to Henry.
Oh, wow.
And Henry, being Henry, wrote back to me.
Wow.
And we wrote back and forth a few times, and then we just kind of stopped. And it was a few years later, and I was at a rummage sale or an estate sale, and there was one of his books there that I hadn't read.
There they are.
Aw, I love that picture. He's giving me the eye. He's like, "What are you laughing at?"
You look so happy, dude.
Oh, bloody hell. But I wrote him a letter, and then we stopped, communicating, just because you stop writing letters. They're a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I stumbled across one of his books that I hadn't read back then, The Holy Place, and I picked it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Henry Lincoln. I remember him. And after I read that, I'm like, I'm going to check in on him. And I found his website back then, and I emailed him, and then I was like, I'm coming over. I'm going to see this. I'm going to meet you in person. And then it turned into years of this, and that's how I got into Rennes-le-Chateau. So not a Rennie at first, a Henny.
What year was that?
Oh my gosh. I think it was 10 years ago.
How long?
10.
Oh yeah.
I think so, yeah.
That's a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I went to Rennes-le-Chateau, I actually went with Michael Bagent.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it was really wild because it's the first time that he had been there in many, many years. And people were just, they couldn't believe it. They didn't know who he was. But finally, some people would, ask or introduce themselves. And then he would say, and I remember we went into the bookstore there down on the Grand Rue. And the guy was running it. And he Michael bought some stuff, and he handed him his card, his charge card, and the guy goes, "You are not Michael Bejon." Oh, I think I am. He goes, "No, you are not Michael Bejon." It was so cute, and everybody was just. But what was funny was it's the first time I had been there, and of course I would have never heard of it had it not been for Holy Blood.
Right.
We never would have pursued the rest of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, but every person that we ran into, I would ask them, what got you interested? And 9 times out of 10, it was Holy Blood.
Yeah.
And of course, without Holy Blood, Holy Grail, the Da Vinci Code would have never been written.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, without a doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
So it was a very powerful piece of work, and it had a big effect on a lot of people. And I think it started a lot of people on their own journeys, on their own quests for more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't get any better than that to inspire people to go on their own search.
And I think one of the reasons is it was so appealing to so many diverse people is it was very interdisciplinary when you think about it. It wasn't just history and theology. There was the whole art side. Such in-depth, examination of Poussin, and there was, there later on in Henry's work, even there was the mathematics and the geometry. I just think there's something for everybody when it comes to the whole mystery of Rennes-le-Château.
Right. I tell you, it is. I don't know. Did you meet Tim Wallace Murphy?
I did not meet him in person, no, unfortunately.
He was a wonderful guy.
No, I've heard so much about him, and I've read his work, and I wish I could have met him. It just
yeah, he was a love, and but he used to call that area the glue pot because he says, people get stuck there because they, and before he ever said that to me, I would always warn people, if you're going, I'm going to warn you, you will go back.
You will.
Don't just go once. You will go back.
You will.
Everybody I know that's gone has made their way back one time or another.
Or they want to. It does.
Or they want to. Yeah.
And it's magnetic.
Yeah. It is a privilege, to be able to travel for sure. And I didn't get to do any traveling till I was well far into adulthood. And when I got a chance, the first place I went was France and Rennes-le-Château, and climbed Mont Secours.
Of course, you have to.
Couldn't do it now, but or I don't know, couldn't or wouldn't, because I saw these ladies when I was climbing up. For those of you who may not know what it looks like, it's almost a straight up climb, and it's almost, I think it's about like 3/4 of a mile straight up almost, and at this really steep angle. And I was like huffing and puffing, and I only went because Michael Baget, embarrassed me for being reluctant, because I don't want to act like I can't make it, so I'll just trudge along. And I was feeling so proud of myself when we were about halfway up, but I was like red-faced and huffing and puffing. And then here are these little 80-year-old ladies coming down, and they were going, "Allez-vous, bon courage," and I was going like, oh my God, I was so proud of myself, and I'm just like a wet noodle here, and they just trek up and down it like nothing.
For anybody who has not been to Europe, a lot of the trails and a lot of the walks up mountains are very different in the U.S. In the U.S., we have such a litigious society that everything has to be paved and easy and totally safe to get up. In France, they're like, yeah, climb a mountain, go for it.
Yeah, climb up the ruins.
Yeah.
It's just
get up there, kids.
But yeah, you could, there's a lot of, but it's funny. You don't really hear that much. Now, I have heard a few times of people, falling or getting lost. Like there was some weird story about a woman getting lost in the cave for days and then coming out and, never being the same again and that sort of thing. I don't know if that's true, but anyhow, I did notice that. I thought, oh my God, we would never have this in America. everything would be glassed in, so that you couldn't even, there was no way possible to fall out. And, but it's so raw that it's more of a natural experience, so much of a real experience.
It's an amazing experience. And anybody who journeys down there should definitely, see Rennes-le-Chateau, do all of those things, but take that little side trip to Montségur because it's magical.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Now, I know we're going to be taking a look at some artwork which you sent over, and I'm going to do my best to pull up the right piece at the right time. There was that one image that I haven't been able to snag, but I'm going to keep trying that.
That's okay. There's a bunch of them.
So should I just start, or how do you want to do it?
I have two little sections of images here. Both of them deal with Mary Magdalene. And the one I sent you the most images of is what I call the Hairy Mary pictures.
Yes.
And the Hairy Mary pictures are when you think of Mary Magdalene, most people will think of the alabaster jar, the iconography that's really associated. Or sometimes she's holding a book. She might be, standing patiently outside of the tomb, as well, maybe not so patiently, mournfully in front of the tomb. And those are the things that we're used to seeing Mary, sometimes, usually, often with the red hair, and it's usually long. But there are some artists and some traditions that have taken that long hair to pretty much the ultimate extreme. So let's see. Can you tell the one where she's going like this, Renee?
Was that in the first batch?
I think so. Well, you can just pull one up.
What I did was I put them in just the order that I received them.
So.
Oh, there we go.
This one is actually not Mary Magdalene, and a lot of people mistake this one for Mary Magdalene who are familiar with the Hairy Mary tradition.
Right.
This is actually Saint Mary of Egypt. And Saint Mary of Egypt was a very, very popular saint early on in the church. And she was a hermit who lived out in the wilderness, and she's depicted as being very hairy. What you're seeing there on her legs, that's a tradition that's known as feather tights. And so that's not necessarily hair on her legs. It's actually little feathers probably. And that's a tradition that you'll see with angels in certain areas. And even Lucifer is an angel, but there's one in there called Lucifer, I think. You can see Lucifer with some, with a feathery chest. Mm-hmm. And so people were familiar with Mary of Egypt, and one theory on why Mary Magdalene started to being depicted as hairy is that there was some conflation there, that people were confusing, or artists were even confusing Mary Magdalene with Mary of Egypt here. Mm. But regardless, they started depicting her that way. So if you pull up another hairy Mary one, there she is. Yes. I like that pose. I'm like, what are you doing, Mary?
Right.
Yes. So here you can see where she has her typical long red hair. And here she is, ascending. She has the angels lifting her up. And this is a German painting. And you can see there that her whole body is covered in hair, kind of reminiscent of Mary of Egypt. If you go a little further and pull up another one, you'll see that sometimes, oh no, save that one. That's for later. That's sexy Jesus. No. That's Lucifer. That's Lucifer with the feather body.
The feathers.
I love everything.
What is that particular painting or?
I believe that one was an altar piece.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing. I mean, when you look at the details there on his fingers, and when you see him actually playing that fiddle there, maybe the devil went down to Georgia. Actually,
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, he's delightful. And because he is a fallen angel, they depicted him with these feather tights and this whole feather body. And that tradition likely grew out of medieval pageantry. So when there were pageants and people would play an angel, they would actually put on these feather tights and do that, for the actual performance. And that probably carried over to the art and created this very strange tradition of feather tights.
Wow. Now that is wild. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed that I've not really seen any of these. If I did, I must have somehow, how could I not notice the
You might have blocked them out.
Like a lot of things, like some of my marriages,
Save sexy Jesus there and go on to the next guy.
Sexy Jesus,
that's not his official art name. That's Lisa's name for Jesus there.
Right.
So here you see another ascension of Mary, and you can see where it's not the feathery look. Her actual hair has grown to cover her body, and a lot of art historians will say that that's a sign of her humility. So in the tradition where Mary ended up, going in the boat over to the south of France, tradition says that she lived in a grotto all alone with no material possessions, that she was just subsisting. And, over the years that she was there, her clothing she wore up there would have worn away. So because she was so modest inherently, her biology actually supplemented that modesty and grew her hair so that her nether regions were never revealed. So
that's convenient.
Isn't it? Yeah, my hair doesn't do that. It would never do that. Renee, you look like you could grow your hair out.
I could. And you don't know, you can't see what's down below here.
Another theory is that artists and that whole iconography focused on her hair because, of course, probably the most famous story about Mary besides the tomb is her washing Jesus's hair or feet with her hair.
Right.
So maybe that's why artists fixated on that and just took the hair to the extreme.
I wonder. So what you're saying is you don't believe that Mary Magdalene was actually furry.
I don't believe she was actually furry. I mean, maybe she was. I'm not going to judge.
What did you say about the meaning of the hair? Humility? Was that?
Yeah. So if she was this
modesty.
Right, modesty. So the hair would have covered up her breasts and her, in her private regions so that they weren't exposed in case someone came up to her grotto. So
indeed. Oh my gosh, now I've lost my place. Stay out of my grotto. Oh wait, no. See, I've gone all crazy. All right, now okay, we've been through this one. That is an amazing. Now, is that some sort of a piece, a panel, or?
That's from a Book of Hours, I believe. Is that I think that's the Sforza Book of Hours.
Oh yes, that looks like something like that. One of those earlier ones reminded me of the Splendor Solis panels.
It's interesting. I mean, there's so much influence across art.
Yes.
It's amazing to see things that you think might not be connected that are. This one's actually definitely from a diptych. So this is from a two-piece. This is one of the sides. And you see, this is about 1420 or 30. And there you can see Mary, she's more into the feather tights again, right?
Yeah.
Very modest.
Is it a bodysuit or is it feather on the top and feathers on the bottom? I can't really.
It's a full bodysuit.
Wow.
But look at her beautiful face. There's no hair there.
That's right. That's the only thing. Yeah. That's lovely. I love these.
They're, and this is just a small sampling. I mean, you can dig and find more of these Harry Marys. They're not one or two offs, you know. There's somewhere in that file, there's a wonderful Donatello statue. I think it's the only statue I have in there. And you know, traditionally, Mary Magdalene in art is usually portrayed as fairly young. You know, you don't see a haggard old bent over Mary Magdalene usually. But this statue from Donatello, it actually does. She's a little bit haggard. She's gaunt.
No, that would be interesting. What are the primary colors in it?
It would have been in the picture I sent you. It's brown at this point. So it's a brown statue with a black background. In the pictures I sent you, she's in a case.
Is she sitting or
she's standing? She's standing.
I'm wondering if I even got that one. I don't remember it, and I'm not seeing it in here.
Maybe that's the one that didn't come through.
Oh yes, the golden.
Yes,
yes, that's the one. It was in a format that it wouldn't accept here in the system.
Well, if anybody wants to look it up, it's Donatello's only sculpture of Mary Magdalene. It was in around 1450, in the mid 1400s, and it was renowned then as this very, very realistic and lifelike thing, and it made her very human, as opposed to this idealism of some sort. And it's just, you can see his understanding of anatomy and in the face and the arms and her feet. You know, she doesn't have the little tiny feet that many women in art have. You know, she has, you know, pretty big feet. I would guess in the statue she's about a size 9. You know, she's not a 6.
Wow, and that's an American size 9.
That's right. I always forget. What would that be? European? Is that a 38 or?
Yeah, something like, I don't know. No, it's funny because the sizes are really different.
They are.
It's in the UK, and I know, like, I wear the same size that Jeannie wears, and of course she weighs about a pound.
She does.
I was, I wear a size 8 also, but her size 8 is like this. You know? So funny.
But you know, it's pretty amazing to think about how the portrayal of women had not changed for so many centuries. You know, that there was always this kind of either idealized or it was either an idealism or something punitive. You know, there weren't that many average looking women, unless you get into things like Bruegel and stuff, where there's, you know, massive like peasants. But to think about the unique ways that some saints were portrayed is interesting to me. It's fascinating.
It is interesting, and I wonder where I could see. Are there any of these like in the Louvre, in museums somewhere? I think I saw one in the Getty. Actually, I could be wrong. I saw one on the West Coast. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a Harry Mary. But I don't remember if it was the Getty. The Getty has a lot of Magdalens, you know. So I get the feel. I think it was there. Don't quote me on it. I'll have to go out there and see or call them and ask them if they have a Harry Mary.
A lot of the Harry Marys did come out of Germany for whatever reason. Maybe because it was cold in the winters. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, that would be desirable, you know, to have warm.
Definitely not exclusively, because, you know, Donatello was by no way means, you know, German. So,
of course,
lots of Italians did it too.
But now, since you kind of primarily chose a lot of Mary Magdalene images for tonight, do you have like a particular interest in her?
I do. Yeah. I don't know. I find her fascinating.
Yes.
Of course, she has the close ties to Southern France, and I've spent so much time there. if you go to southern France more than the first time you visit Rennes-le-Château, and you journey over to Provence, there's so many amazing Mary Magdalene sites.
Yes.
From Saint-Baume to even like Tarascon, where Martha supposedly, slayed the dragon. There's just amazing stories. To think that, Lazarus was on the boat with her, and that in Marseille at St. Victor's, they thought that, or the legend is that his remains and his, relics were there. So, yeah, I think Mary Magdalene is a fascinating character study in how society perceives women.
Yes, absolutely.
And the images that they project upon those women.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it really hit me when reading Holy Blood, Holy Grail. I didn't even sort of realize, because, when you grow up a certain way, in a lot of ways, you just kind of accept, well, that's the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear something different, or, maybe you go visit a different culture or whatever. And then you go, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be that way. It could be this way.
Right.
And then you take all the information together and you make up your own mind about how you feel, instead of just being sort of relegated into an image or an idea. And for me, that was what was really, really cool about Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Definitely.
I'll tell you right now, it's a penitential read. And that's probably why he hates it.
Speaking of penitence, yeah. That's a great word for it.
It's like being in the penitentiary.
I like that.
But yeah, his subsequent books were much more artful,
I agree. And, I think Henry would say at this point that he didn't actually write a lot of the prose in Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
That's right.
And
That's absolutely right.
Yep. And he would say that the person who did do most of the writing would always choose, what did he always say? Would always choose 1,000 words when 14.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When one would do, Yes. I definitely heard him say that on more than one occasion.
Yep.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, it's interesting. And in that historical background, have you found like other sources for instance, I know that there were some early on mentions of Mary Magdalene in southern France, or, spoken about in literature. I think there was something called The Journey to Rennes-les-Bains or something like that there was mention of Mary Magdalene. And that was, I think, written maybe, I want to say in the 1300s, although I could be totally wrong. I could be a couple of hundred years too early. But anyway, it was considerable, amount of time ago. And because a lot of people feel like that whole France Mary Magdalene thing was just like a modern construct, and or a confection to, just put out this idea. I think I'm losing my guest. Maybe we should take a quick break once again, and we'll be right back with more Night Vision. Well, maybe we won't take a break. I think what I need is a Mahima moment.
More often than not, we block our own abundance with our own limitations. We clip the wings of our own potential. Very early on in life, we are given signs by the universe how to follow our own truth. Sometimes we may be pressurized to do something which doesn't really align with our higher self. Or sometimes we keep doing some things which make us restless, which make us unhappy and sad. Yet we continue doing because of some reason or the other, some conditioning, some social pressures. Very early on, I stuck out like a sore thumb in my family, in my environment, and I continued to go against the tide. But something pushed me into following my heart. If I hadn't done that, I would not have reached where I am today. Because now when I look back, I can only smile at all the things that I had to endure to get to this place. So follow your bliss, follow your dreams, follow your heart, because that's where the real you lies. That's where you can ultimately reach where you're meant to be.
Welcome back to Night Vision. I'm with our girlfriend Mahima Anand, by the way, with a Mahima moment. I thought we could all use it. What is going on today?
I don't know.
This never happens. I mean, it's been one thing after another. And you don't even know what I went through just before the show started with, this, that, the other. I was running out of time and I was just going crazy. I called one of the kids in and said, come in here and get the dogs. I don't even have time to bring them out. I got stuff to do. So I tell you, I don't know what's going on today, but we got some interference happening. Now,
we do.
I'm wondering if maybe it's Henry.
I hope it is.
Henry, what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, Henri.
Humpty Dumpty. Did he ever tell you the Humpty Dumpty? Humpty Dumpty.
I don't remember that one.
I'll tell you sometime. It's all in French, but it sounds like you're saying the Humpty Dumpty poem, but you're not. You're saying
okay.
Something.
Yeah, we definitely have to have a glass or two of wine and hear that one.
Absolutely. Goodness. Well, that threw me for a loop. As it's not hard to do, but anyhow. So yeah, back to art and back to history and Mary Magdalene and all things connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember. In fact, early on when I started going to that area in 2004 was the first time that I finally made it over. And I remember even on that trip, I met locals who would say, Mary Magdalene, of course she was here. And yes, she too. And the children too. They played in the meadow. And I'm going like, wow. And it was just, and also I met a lot of people, and I'm not talking about people who you see at the restaurants. I'm talking about the salt of the earth farmers and people who might be running a little B&B in their house, way out in the middle of nowhere, who are practicing Cathars.
Oh, yeah.
People would say, oh, the Cathars don't exist anymore. But I'm here to tell you that they do. And
they do.
If you can, just get with the real people and nobody, that's like trying to put up a pretense of any kind, you really find out how involved a lot of people are in things like the Cathars and also secret societies like Losange.
Yeah.
And just amazing things that go on. I mean, things like on October 13th, if you go and you see guys dressed in white with torches going up Bugarash. Is it Bugarash they go up on October 13th? I think it is. It's either got to be Bugarash or Peshkardu, but I think it's
Kardu.
Is it?
I could be wrong because I've never been there for it. So
yeah. But it's really interesting in them, and they're very serious about it.
Oh yeah,
it's not a cult and it's not a, fad. It's
No.
like deeply rooted traditions that still carry on. And that's really nice because so many things have gone by the wayside.
Yeah. I have learned strange traditions and seen totally unique cultural celebrations that I never knew about. And
Right.
I don't think it's just because we're Americans. I think those things are very insulated in southern France.
Yes. Yeah, I do too. Yeah. And sometimes you have to go a few times or spend time there for people to finally, like show things to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. You have to go and really live it. And
Yeah.
maybe that sounds a little bit cliche, but if you go as a tourist and you think of it as tourism and just looking, it's not the same as experiencing it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, I wish everyone had the opportunity to travel to the place that they love the most, as many times as they'd like, and I know that's not possible. And, as Americans, it's difficult because we're so far removed from Europe and so many other places. We're sort of a world of our own. And many Americans just don't. And I didn't have the opportunity to travel until, I was well up into my adulthood. And so I can certainly understand. And I don't mean to act like that everybody can just take off and run to France, and really that's one of the reasons why I do this show is, to hopefully present some of the things that, I've come across, but also friends. And there's so many people out there like you and me who are hooked on this. And you have your little area that, you're really into, and somebody else, like Court has other things. And I know that sometimes you guys confer and it's wonderful. I've made some of the best friends because of our common interest in these stories.
Yeah.
And it's a big overarching mystery, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so many things are sort of linked to it. I mean,
whether it's the Cathars or the Knights Templar or Mary Magdalene or the quest for treasures, like Court is so focused on the treasure hunters and the treasure seekers.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Montsegur.
I mean, even now there's a, I don't know, it might be tenuous, but at least there's some kind of a link between Oak Island and Rennes-le-Château.
Some people say there is.
Yeah. I know. It's like, and that's the other thing. It's like, there's a lot of, that's why I was making a point to, to pay tribute to just the salt of the earth people that are there. They're not trying to get any attention. They're not writing a book, or not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I've done it, of course, made a film down there, let's don't talk about that. But I honestly, even though, I got stung by that film in the end, I don't regret it.
You wouldn't undo that. That's an experience, that
it really was. And I mean, it was a huge learning experience. Just
absolutely
that part of it. But also it was just great. I mean, I got to spend a lot of time, in places that I love to be, and met a lot of wonderful people who are still my dearest friends even today. So.
And eat wonderful food and drink amazing wine.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a big foodie.
Yep.
But anyhow, so can you talk about some of your experiences either in that area or elsewhere where you've been looking into these ideas and these mysteries just from your personal standpoint?
Sure. Yeah. When I think about the south of France and the experiences I've had on there, it does kind of, for me, it does also revert back to the people I've met and the friends I've made. And I think of the Sonier Society, which is a wonderful organization that really does pull people together to talk about and learn about not just Rennes-le-Château and Bérenger Saunière, but also everything from UFOs and unicorns to, old holiday traditions that are no longer followed in different areas of the world. So I think of my friends, like those people, and I think all of my stories are kind of wrapped up in that. Going to the UK first, and going to a Sonier Society meeting, which I think was the folklore meeting that time, and then talking to Rat Scabies, who is just an incredible character of a person. Listening to his stories about his adventures.
Okay, I can't let you go by without explaining who Rat Scabies is. Maybe a lot of you guys know him because he was pretty famous, and he
is famous.
He is so famous, absolutely, but particularly big back in the day in the band The Damned, punk band, and I found a video the other day that I thought I should send this to Rat. It was an interview with John Lennon interviewing Sid Vicious. What a strange, piece of film that was. But anyhow, so Rat Scabies is a prominent member of the Sonier Society. In fact, his father and mother founded it.
Yeah.
The late John Millard, and now Joy is still there.
Yep.
And their son, Rat, is also a Rennie. In fact, he wrote a book, Rat Scabies and the Holy Grail, which is
with Chris Dawes. Yep.
Very good book. A lot of fun. Yes, Chris Dawes. Great writer he is. And so, yes. I thought, Rat Scabies, if you don't know who he is, people go, yuck.
You gotta Google Rat and listen to The Damned. He's the drummer. He's an incredible drummer and an incredible musician. He's also so knowledgeable. He can rattle off facts and dates, and his mind is like a steel trap when it comes to facts and about Rennes-le-Château. He's an incredible resource.
He grew up with it, with his parents and everything. It's in his blood practically. And it's interesting. There are a lot of artists, and musicians that are interested sort of in this field, and I'm blanking now which one it was, but when Tim Wallace Murphy was living further to the east, down in Vence near Nice.
Okay.
Yes. One of the Rolling Stones had a place there, and he would come and talk to Tim all the time and about, Tim's books and things like that. Very, very much into the whole thing.
I never knew that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
There are so many little places where Rennes-le-Château pops up that people don't even notice. There's I do a lot of work in the video game industry and with video games at my museum. And there's a great video game in the Gabriel Knight series that is actually set in Rennes-le-Château. It was designed by a woman named Jane Jensen. And I had been trying to reach her to get her archives for the museum because she did a lot of really transformational work. And I called her, I'd emailed her, and I'd sent so many missives to her. And I was literally standing in the church at Rennes-le-Château, and my phone rang. And I looked at it, and it's Jane Jensen calling me. So all this time I'd been trying to reach her. And the moment she calls me back, the woman who designed a video game that is set in Rennes-le-Château, I'm standing in the church. It was bizarre.
What was the name of that game? And then we got to go to break.
Gabriel Knight.
Oh, I've got to look that up. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, more art, more history, and more laughs, hopefully. Stay with us.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Renee Barnett. My guest is Lisa Michelle, and we're talking about history, art, technical
games,
all kinds of gross in the machine, everything. I was saying on the break, I was wondering if some of those glitches, I have had that happen before. One night I had a guest on, and he had written a book. I don't know if you know who Forrest Ackerman was, but he was called Mr. Monster, and he had Monster Magazine, which was for kids and stuff. And then he did a lot of work in films, and his house was really a museum. I mean, it was just full of old movie props, and he was good friends with Bela Lugosi, and he had all these Dracula stuff, all these original movie posters and props and the statues, and he was really a well-known and well-loved guy. Anyway, he died a few years ago, and he had always said, that he didn't believe there was an afterlife. And so somehow after he died, my friend Paul, who was on the show, had known Forrest since Paul was a little boy. He was his big idol. And then he grew up, and Paul became a big movie producer and all that stuff. And they stayed close friends. And so Paul said, well, if you find anything over there, try to tell me. And so he had all these weird things happen. And so Paul ended up writing a book called An Atheist in Heaven. And it was so cute. And so I had him on. We were going to talk about it. And I knew Forrest, not like Paul did, but I knew him. And so I said at the beginning of the show, okay, Forry, if you want to join us, feel free. And as soon as I did that, my computer just went absolutely crazy.
Wow.
All the pages started popping and started copying, and it just went nuts. And I took a picture of my screen. This was when I was only doing audio, and texted it to Paul. Says, "Look at my screen," and stuff. And I swear, and all kinds of crazy things happened during that show. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised, if there was a message to get through, and he wanted to do it, he would do it. Henry would.
I like to think that.
I would like to think that too. So maybe he'll give us a little sign. Or maybe that was already the sign.
Maybe it was.
Yeah. So anyhow, what a legend, that so many of those original Rennies, are now gone.
I know.
And, it's, I guess it's up to us to pick up the mantle and carry on.
It is.
And, build on what they've done and, what they've taught us, because it's just amazing. And they had such a body of information.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really impressive. So I hope we're up for the task.
I think we are.
I think there's enough of us too, and it's like, I love, all the people that, are able to connect and share what they're doing, because it's such a huge amount of information to digest that no one person could ever possibly come to very much of a conclusion on their own. You're going to have to get help from somebody else who's already researched that particular area that you haven't done yet. It can save you tons of time.
Right. And that was one of the things that Henry and I always talked about, and that we worked on together, and I know you worked on too, was preserving his archives.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And making sure that his research and his papers and all the work that he had done in every sphere of his life was going to be preserved and available to future generations. The work you did, the work that the Pickerings did, that David and Jeannie did, preserving all that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And interestingly, David, God rest his soul, because he's gone now too.
Yeah.
Made 5 copies, hard drives of everything they scanned, all the recordings. I mean, there's everything from old Doctor Who shows that that Henry wrote to old commercials that he had a part in. And and then of course all his wonderful stuff, letters from Pierre Plantard, and just tons and tons of things. And I don't remember, I forgot how many thousands and thousands of scans that David and Jeannie did of all that material, but it's been preserved on these hard drives so that there's a copy, 5 different copies in different locations, just so in case something should happen, and
now all the hard copy, like one of my favorite trips visiting Henry was the 2 weekends that we spent packing up and shipping everything off to the Embassy of the Free Mind,
right,
in Amsterdam. And Joost Ritman, the founder of the Ritman Library, coming down to visit with Henry and talking about. He did, yeah. He's an amazing person himself, and the manuscripts that he has collected over his life that became the basis for this library that he created in Amsterdam is just incredible. Amazing original primary sources. Related to everything from Gnosticism to alchemy, to everything about the Holy Grail, which is how Henry's work tied into the Embassy of the Free Mind's mission. And Mr. Ritman himself is very much. I don't want to speak for him and say he's a Cathar, but I know that he's an adherent to Catharism, and that he believes very strongly in the power of those belief systems. And again, I don't want to put words into his mouth, But when you look at his work and when you talk to him, you definitely feel that from him.
Get that sense, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's important that these records get preserved, and all of that stuff, the hard copies and one of those hard drives is in Amsterdam, and they are working to further digitize what they have and get that ready for public access. And I know that Henry was very thrilled and very comforted by the idea that everything was going to be safe. So all the work that you did, I know you know it, but it meant a lot to him.
Oh, that's great. Now, do you know when they're going to make that available?
I don't know. COVID, of course, threw a wrench into everything. Especially museums, that were shut down and lost all that revenue, and you couldn't be on site to work. So it did get slowed down. I actually have an email into them because we were talking, right after Henry's passing, of course, and seeing if they have a projection for that. It's funny, Dan Brown did a ton of his research for Da Vinci Code at the Rittman Library.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yes. And afterwards, he was so appreciative that he actually made a very substantial donation to the Rittman Library to digitize some of the sources that he used and found valuable. And I remember when we were talking to Henry, because we did a lot of work trying to figure out where's the right place, and there just wasn't the right place in France, unfortunately. But I remember talking with Henry, and the Rittmans talking with Henry and saying, is this a conflict? Do you want your work someplace where Dan Brown is supporting it financially? And Henry was like, of course.
Yeah.
I think it tickled him. I think he thought it was great.
Well, I don't think Henry had a problem with Dan Brown, and I don't think Dan Brown had a problem with Henry, because it was Michael and Richard that sued Dan Brown and Random House, which was not a smart move.
It was a disaster.
Because, I was actually working with Michael at the time. He was here in the United States, and I think he came over for about 6 months, and we were developing a television series for Fox Studios, and we worked on it. They were getting ready to launch it. It was going to be a huge series on network television, and it was going to be a hybrid of documentary and drama, and it was going to be so good. And I think we had like a $30 million budget.
Wow.
For this first season. And we were just waiting for the first of the year, going to start shooting first of the year. And then right after the first year, I get a call from the Fox executive, and the president of Fox Studios, Gail Berman, had left. And she went to Paramount, and they shelved every project that she was working on. And I remember just knowing that I just lost this huge opportunity, and also that I was going to have to tell my business partner, Bruce, and Michael, and it was just awful. But Michael said, that's it. I'm having nothing more to do with American television, which I didn't blame him. And he left town and never came back. But it was crazy. But Dan Brown never had a problem with Henry at all. And he didn't have a problem.
He said that, of course they talked to him too. Because you don't want to, take my word, you don't want to upset your big donor,
Yeah. Oh, they talked to him.
Of course.
He was quite pleased.
I would imagine so. He definitely was fine with it. I remember Henry saying to me once, he was like, stories belong to everyone. I wasn't the first one to tell this story.
Right. Well, that's the whole idea with the lawsuit. Is the judge said, is it a story that you made up, or is it history? If it's history, you cannot copyright history. And so Michael said, well, we didn't make it up. So they lost.
You made it up. No.
I was just, oh, heck yeah, I made the whole thing up. But, it was a very ill-conceived idea.
Yeah.
To do that, because what they could have done was they could have ridden that wave, and I mean, Holy Blood, Holy Girl became a bestseller again.
It did. Yep. And they squandered all those proceeds on a lawsuit.
Not only the proceeds, but Michael lost his house and everything. It was terrible. Well, one of his houses. But I don't know how many, I don't think he lost everything, but he did lose one of the properties. I think it was in Bath. But it was just, and then Henry, of course, refused to have anything to do with that lawsuit. Right. And what a smart decision that was.
Definitely.
But anyway.
Yeah.
That's the gossipy part. So should we have a gander at some of these other images?
Yeah, sure.
And now.
Do you want to bring up Jesus as gardener?
Oh, gosh.
That's sexy Jesus. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's sexy one?
Yeah. There he is. Okay. So, when you think about
Jesus in a hat.
Well, yeah, that's the Flemish side of things, but there are definitely non-Flemish portrayals of Jesus as gardener, and the whole tradition of Jesus as gardener goes back to the Gospel of John, where Jesus comes out of the tomb, and Mary Magdalene mistakes him for the gardener.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And so there's all these images, and this is my favorite, which is why I sent this one, where he's not necessarily dressed up as a Flemish dude with a hat and a halo, by the way.
Yes. Halo around the hat.
Yep. And you can tell it's Mary Magdalene here. She does have the typical kind of alabaster jar there.
Yes.
She's making that kind of where's my hands? If you get that kind of like
hand sign, right?
Yeah, that M shape with her fingers. Yeah. And Jesus is telling her, hey, no, it's me. And I loved this picture. So it's a painting. If you show the other one's actually the one I saw first and found first when I was digging through this Jesus as gardener tradition and seeing which ones I found interesting.
And so which other one?
I think it's also called Jesus as gardener.
But the labels didn't come through. So I'm just having to look at these tiny thumbnails.
Oh no, it's an engraving, so it wouldn't have color. It'd be kind of black and white.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like a swashbuckler.
He sure does. This is like the Fabio version.
Muscles.
Yep. So, all of a sudden he's like pecked out. His hat's a little more jaunty. He's got a shovel on his shoulder. And Mary Magdalene is still making her little M shape.
Yes. She's got her jar.
She's checking him out. And so the painting actually came first. The engraver for this one was Egidius Sadler. And he was the court engraver to Emperor Rudolph II and Ferdinand II. So he was a super important engraver. And when I came across this, there's a long Latin caption on the bottom there. And my Latin is a little rusty these days. You don't use a lot of Latin at the Museum of Play. But I had to do a rough translation of it. And I actually found it really odd. When you think about that whole theory that Jesus and Mary were involved, whether they were married or whether they were lovers or whether they were spiritual lovers, you don't see a ton of that written out in this time period. But this little Latin inscription on the bottom, my rough translation, and any Latin expert out there, please correct anything I got horribly wrong, is: you hide together. You want Christ and to be seen together. One lover seeks you and has you. Love likes to play. You should hide from this ugly game. Divine love knows how to play nice.
Wow.
Isn't that a really odd inscription?
It is.
And I've researched it up and down. I've looked for other sources that have used this exact Latin wording, and I haven't found it.
Oh my gosh.
And I've been staring at this picture at sexy Jesus here and thinking about that verse and trying to figure out exactly what it means. And Latin can be ambiguous just from the syntax. But there's very clear words in it, like play. Play is a very distinct verb. And love is very distinct. So you hide together. You want Christ and to be seen together. And so I think of the you as Mary Magdalene in this picture, right? One lover seeks you and has you. Love likes to play. So there's some kind of mystery here. And then it says, you should hide from this ugly game. Is love the ugly game? Maybe. Does that mean that you should hide your love or hide your relationship? Then it says, divine love knows how to play nice.
Oh, that is so bizarre.
And it's fascinating because remember, the painting that we looked at first was the original. And when the engraver created this engraving, he totally sexed up Jesus. Yeah, this Jesus, like we said earlier, is far more virile and manly and attractive than the other maybe kind of jaunty looking Jesus in the original.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've been trying to look into is trying to figure out who Sadler really was. He came from a long line of engravers. I've looked at his other work and seen what kind of changes he's made. Many of his engravings are based on paintings. So did he change this one more than the other ones? Is there some message in this?
Right.
Is there something he's trying to say? And I've zoomed down the background and looked at everything in it, trying to figure out, where did this inscription come from and what is he trying to tell us?
It's interesting too. I can't stop looking. It looks like a lattice type fence.
Yep, I see that too.
And I wonder would they have had that type of fence, or is this also something from the artists? I'm going to bring back up the other one real quick now to see the difference.
The whole background is different.
It is.
It's in a different setting. He's changed the setting of this.
Yes.
And why? What is the setting? Why did he change it? Was it just an aesthetic? Or
it's interesting to just go through and pick out the things that seem deliberate that he put in there and try to find out if there's some sort of message in that or hidden meanings in particular things. Okay,
but it's to me,
I would say this is sweet Jesus.
He's almost kind of goofy looking.
But he looks nice.
He does. Yeah, he's just like a nice guy.
Look at this guy.
Oh yeah, he's ready.
He's got his head over to the side, like looking. Wow.
He is posing.
He's definitely, yeah.
And he is wielding that shovel. He's totally digging her. Sorry.
Wow. So in your opinion, if you formed one about the idea, do you think that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were a couple?
I really am the kind of person who has a hard time believing without evidence.
I know.
And My gut tells me that in that time period, that it's probably quite logical and probable that Jesus would have had a partner.
He would have been married. He was a rabbi.
He would have been married. I think there's some pretty interesting arguments out there about the wedding at Cana. Yeah. I think there's some great arguments there. It is, like you said, an old tradition. You can't trace it back to 200 or 300 BC. That evidence is not there. But obviously from the apocryphal Gospels that we know of, Mary was far more important than just a prostitute, and probably not a prostitute at all.
No. I believe she was a woman of some means.
I do too.
And I think she probably financed some of the stuff that they were doing, some of Jesus' work and her work.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know that for sure, but I would think it would be logical, because I do think there's enough evidence. And even, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say, oh gosh, it was probably later than that though. When the Catholic Church finally said, that Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. They finally conceded that. Do you remember?
Recently, you mean?
Yeah, it was, it's been some years, like maybe 20, 30 years ago.
Well, just recently, her High Holy Day was reinstituted. Like she was elevated back up to a high status as she would have been in earlier times. But it's just been a series of, oh yeah, we weren't right about that. Oh yeah, we made that up. Oh yeah, that goes back to the Vulgate where we purposely mistranslated something or chose a nasty word instead of the nicest word,
Right. Yeah, that's it. It's so neat when you can go back to, get as close as you can, to the original source, and you really find some different stuff than what you think.
You really, 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 really do. And it's purposeful. Translation is a hard thing, but it also gives you the opportunity to insert yourself into a text. I think Robert Frost said that translation is that thing that's lost in poetry. Like poetry is lost in translation. Excuse me, I flip-flop that. Yeah. But when you translate something, you're putting yourself into it, whether you mean to or not. No matter how separated you try to be from it.
Yes, that's why they did such a great job of translating the so-called Gnostic Gospels, the Nag Library. Yeah. I don't know if you were aware of how they did that. They got all these scholars all over the world, and they would give them a tiny fragment.
Yeah.
Just a couple of words, and then they assembled it to try to keep people from coloring with their own ideas the translation.
Right, which is the exact opposite of what happened with things like the Septuagint and the Vulgate and the St. James. The complete opposite.
Yeah. Generally, history is written by the victors, and
by the victors and the oppressors
in their best light. So, it's like when, there's a lot of evidence, of course, that's just missing, a lot of records missing, and things like a lot of the things that we know about the Cathars, and even some what of the Templars, comes from the Catholic Church, and, comes from Inquisition records. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And things like that. So when you read those things, you need to keep that in mind. And always, James is always, drilling this into my head. Think about what was going on at the time that this was written, because, that will have colored whatever it is that you're reading.
Right. You have to think about, in history, you have to think about the writer's motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But if you know how to sort of read things backwards,
Yep, yep.
when I think that's what you were meaning earlier when you said, what you kind of, judge what's written and what's not written.
Right.
It's like that says a lot also.
Mm-hmm.
Speak a 1,000 words.
Definitely.
But yeah, those are images I think probably, I don't know if I've seen any of these images that you sent me, which is just like, it's embarrassing, but it's great because, you can teach an old dog new tricks. I can still learn.
Yeah. Look up some more of the gardener images. Jesus's gardener, most of them look nothing like that. Most of them are just Jesus kind of standing there with a shovel in his hand.
Right.
They are not that perspective. They're not that type of virility.
Right. Now, in the scriptures, which has, of course, been translated all over the place, did they describe, because I don't remember, I do remember, the story of, her meeting up with him, her not recognizing him, and, and he told her, don't touch me. And
yeah, that's the famous, Noli me tangere.
But was there like a description of, I didn't remember that she thought he was a gardener. I did remember that she did not recognize him. Mm-hmm. But is there some sort of a description, or why would she think he was the gardener? Was he carrying a shovel, or?
I don't know.
I mean, I think she would have maybe not recognized him, or just not believed her eyes,
Right. Well, and I suppose you wouldn't be expecting to see him.
She knew he was alive.
Well, right. And who knows how stories evolve, and does that story have symbolic meaning? Is it meant to be taken literally? Right. Did she really not recognize him? Or did he seem like a new person because he'd been transformed, because he'd gone through some mystical epiphany within his time in the tomb? Was the resurrection physical, or was it metaphorical?
Yeah.
So
I believe there's, some evidence that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were members or practicing therapeutai, which would mean that they were well known in, substances and compositions of those materials to do certain things, including, something that could make you go into a sleep. And I've always wondered, whether or not that Roman soldier that put the sponge of vinegar to Jesus's mouth, maybe that wasn't vinegar. Maybe that was something to alleviate his suffering and knock him out and appear to be dead. Because normally a crucifixion lasts for days and days. Mm-hmm. And they also always break the legs of the person on the cross, because then they're not able to sustain themselves and they'll die faster.
Right.
And Jesus' legs were not broken.
No.
And I think he was up there for like half a day or something, when normally it would have been like, 5 days or some kind of crazy amount of time that they would leave them up. So, I mean, with the ideas that have come out that, not just Mary Magdalene, but Jesus also showed up in southern France, mm-hmm. and lived there and lived out his life there. That sponge thing, and that him being up there for such a short amount of time, his legs not being broken, it just makes you wonder. And, I hope we're not offending anyone, or anyone's faith. I totally respect people's faith and their own beliefs and everything. And honestly, I don't feel it takes away from the story of Jesus to think that he had a wife. I think it adds,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes so much more sense. And like Margaret Starbird, she said, she said, wouldn't that be such a nice model for people to follow rather than, this, Jesus hanging on a cross,
Right. Right.
this model of, him standing side by side with his partner,
Mm-hmm.
such a much more wonderful image, for people to sort of strive for, instead of, the tragedy of seeing someone suffering on a impaled on a cross.
Right. Right.
But that's just my own personal thoughts. And again, I hope I'm not offending anyone at all. And I just think things ought to be discussed.
Right. Right. And that doesn't dismantle anyone's beliefs or disrespect anyone's beliefs. So you can respect and even value other people's beliefs, but still study and research and think.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a time, and I keep harping on France, because I'm obsessed, but the time, particularly down that region, where there were all types of people with different beliefs. There were Sufi, of course, there were Muslim, there were Christian, Hare
Krishnas.
Yes, all kinds of belief systems, and they got along and they respected each other. And I just don't understand why it's so difficult for us today to do that. It's like, okay, I'm not trying to get you to believe what I believe, and, I can respect your beliefs without totally buying into it.
Right.
But I have another really burning question for you.
Okay.
Do you realize that there's a giant rabbit behind you?
This guy right there?
Who is that guy?
Where did that guy come from?
I think he just showed up a minute ago.
So he's actually, our museum's huge. So our museum is 285,000 square feet. We're adding another 90,000 square feet.
Oh my goodness.
But in all that space, we're constantly redoing and updating exhibits. And this guy is a handcrafted, sculpted in wood, hand-carved bunny rabbit that used to be in one of our exhibits. And he just kind of aged out. We redesigned and he didn't fit in anymore. And I wanted to give him a home.
Now, I'm kind of aging out, and I don't really fit in that well anymore. Can I come and live with you? I mean,
you can hang out with the bunny, yeah. I love rabbits. I love the rabbits that appear in the marginalia of old medieval manuscripts.
Oh yes.
Have you ever noticed and seen them?
Yes.
They're fascinating. They're doing things like attacking people. They come in full knight's armor. So
it's wild.
I don't know.
There's the hair in in the I think it's a painting in Limoux, is it? Or
which it's in the thigh. The red hair in the thigh. That's not in Poussin, is it?
I don't think so. No.
I can't remember where that is. Which painting is that
in the church at Limoux, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that.
I'm going to look that up, Renee.
Now, what do you know about that, or do you know anything? And why is that in there?
I do not remember that whole story, quite honestly, or that aspect of the bigger story.
I don't think I really knew why, or I don't remember ever hearing anybody give any ideas. But is there something, mysterious or special about rabbits or symbolic?
I have to go back to Henry's book, and I don't think that one's in Holy Blood, Holy Grail, is it?
gosh, I don't remember. I'll have to look. One great thing about Holy Blood, Holy Grail is it's got a wonderful bibliography, and all these references. You can just go, Mary Magdalene, and see all the pages that Mary Magdalene's on, or Asmodeus, and you can.
As much as I still love the physical book, digital books are amazing for that too.
I know.
I love just the search function in digital books. It just, bam, it takes
want both. I want to have the book.
I do too.
My bookshelf and in my hands, but I also would love to be able to search it.
Yep. There's a great satisfaction and joy to that.
Yeah. Saves you a lot of time.
It does.
But back in the day when Holy Blood, Holy Grail came out, we did not have luxury. So,
no.
But I was always so grateful that they had gone to such lengths, which I kind of think that was a Henry thing. To put
I can imagine that it was, yes.
Be so diligent about that, because that strikes me as something that would be his personality to want to do that.
That fastidiousness, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Oh, that sort of reminds me, John Saul. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I am.
Have you seen his little Rennes-le-Chateau bibliography?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. It's a very small book. Now, they started getting hard to get. And unfortunately, I let Jeannie Pickering talk me out of my copy. So, of course, she took it back to England so that whenever I see her in France, she just doesn't happen to have it. But anyway, when I went back and the price had gone 5 times up, and I'm like, damn. But what he's done is he's gone back through literature and he has referenced every single mention of the Rennes-le-Chateau mystery, the mystery of that whole area, Mary Magdalene, all these things, everything that was ever said prior to Holy Blood, Holy Grail. So that, because a lot of people think that, people just came up with this stuff after Holy Blood, Holy Grail, but he's gone back. And that was where I found that one reference. I want to say the name of that book was Journey to Rennes-les-Bains. It was in French, but that's what it
is. What was it about? And you think that was about Mary Magdalene?
Well, what he did was he just listed that particular reference. So it'd be like, in the year, 1674, so-and-so LaRue wrote this, this passage, and it'd just be a small bit. So you didn't really, you didn't see the whole book unless you, of course, then go back and source it and get the book. But what it did was it really established, first of all, some great references to go back to, but to also know that this is not something that was made up in the 80s or the 70s.
Right.
This has been an enduring story. A lot of these things for many, many centuries. So I just love that book. If you get a chance to grab it,
I'll look for it.
I wonder if they've got that online. That would be a good one to get an e-copy.
Search it. Yeah.
But I have a funny feeling it's not available that way.
Probably not.
It's a very small book. I mean, it's almost a booklet. It's just, like kind of a thin little, maybe A4 size. But it's really great. And he does some really good work. He's very diligent. He's American, but he's been living in Paris for 100 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
His wife's Parisian. But anyhow,
like we said earlier, it's fascinating the diversity of people who are interested in the whole Rennes le Chateau
Right.
mystery.
Right. And, from everywhere. I love, going, especially in the summer, because there's just people from everywhere there.
Absolutely.
All different languages, and it's really cool, and I've made some very, very close friends.
Me too. Some of my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I'm going. As soon as I get the chance, I'm going to head on over. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I figure too, I can get a lot of stuff done there, a lot of research. James and I do a lot of trekking around to sites and things. And if I'm going to do it, I better do it now. I mean, I don't know what I'm waiting for.
That's right. So I will say, you have a lot of time to do it. Henry drove around with me all day, up until, COVID hit. We would all day, he'd be scuffling up little hills.
Oh, I know. I used to stay at this hotel called Maison Christina in Rennes-les-Bains, which is now something else. It's somebody else bought it, but my friend Christina owned it for years. And of course, Henry lived in Rennes-les-Bains, right up behind Christina's. So every day, that's how I would wake up, with Henry yelling at me from the street. And, I would always have my windows open and a little bit, and I'd come, okay, I'll be down in a minute. We would go out all day long. I mean,
yeah,
really was ready to go all the time. It was amazing. And he was already, well into his 80s.
Yep.
But anyhow, we've got, a few more minutes to go before we have to say good night. But I did want to talk a little bit more about the Saunier Society, because I think, there may be some people that might want to consider joining, or, that's been, I'm trying to think, do you know how long that society's been in existence?
I actually don't know how long.
It's a number of years. I can't remember, but gosh, 30, 40 years, I'm sure.
John's been gone for many years now.
Yeah. Gosh, time flies, because I remember when he passed, seems like it was yesterday. But
it might be the 10th anniversary of his passing.
Oh,
is it? I'm not
sure. It could be. It really could be. It's amazing how time flies.
It does.
But so what do they do? I know that for people, on the other side of the pond, there are meetings and things that they can go to. Now, are they going to employ any Zoom business or anything like that? Or has anybody thought about that?
I'm going to say not yet, or that nobody's ready to do that. Have we thought about it? Definitely. So my role with the Saunier Society is that I'm the editor-in-chief of the society, of the Saunier Society Journal. So I pull together, edit, solicit articles, and lay the whole thing out too.
Wow.
So as a member, you receive the journal. It's a beautiful. Wait, I'm going to do this probably forbidden thing on video shows. I'm going to say I'll be right back and grab something. Can I do that?
Yes.
Can you give
a copy?
Can you sing some? Can you sing a song for me while I'm gone?
Oh no. I don't want people to go away. I want people to stay. Let's see. What can I do? Well, I was going to wear a tiara today.
I'm back.
Oh, thank God she's back. I'm not good at riffing.
So, you know,
very nice.
Yeah. So this was a special edition we did in summer 2021 about Montségur. And, you know, it's not just Rennes le Chateau. Like, here's an update on Rennes le Chateau. This was, you know, still COVID. You know, most people weren't traveling.
Right.
You know, in the beginning, in the early summer of 2021. I was, but most people weren't. And so
anybody with any sense was staying at home.
Never said I had sense. But,
My God.
So, when you think about the Sonier Society, there's just Google Sonier Society and the website will pop up. We have a presence on Facebook, and you can find there how to join. We definitely haven't entered the full 21st century in terms of technology, but we're moving in that direction. But if you can't come over to the UK for actual meetings, you do receive 2 to 3 issues of the Sonier 40-page full-color Sonier Society journal. And like I said, it covers many topics, not just Rennes le Chateau, not just France either. Everything from UFOs and Acadia.
Really?
Yep. There's a whole little known women in history series that Joy writes that's fascinating.
Oh, nice.
And it really is women that I have not heard of. And I've learned a lot. Joy is a font of knowledge and has amazing perspectives on history.
Plus, she's a character, which I like.
Definitely a character. We did a whole bunch. We did series of 3 articles about magic mushrooms and the possibility that there is this tradition, like you were saying, of whether it's, you know, psychotropic substances or something else, and what role has that played in history and religion.
There was a book that came out a couple of years ago. I actually have it here somewhere, but I can't run and get it because I'd be gone for like an hour or two. My books are in incredible disarray, but it was about the use of psychedelics.
I think I have one called, it might be called like Magic Mushrooms and Mysticism or something. There's been a few books about it.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating when in the people who have researched this find this mushroom iconography in so many images that you'll be familiar with. And when they point out that there's like this weird magic mushroom there, you're like, what is it doing there? You know, they make a good case for this stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, even if you're in the US and you can't make it to meetings, as a member of the Sonier Society, you receive a journal. There's also wonderfully written and entertaining e-news updates that little monthly emails that Joy and team put together that are wonderful. And if you get to the UK, the meetings are just wonderful. The topics that are discussed are amazing.
And you also do outings and tours and things, because I know, you know, I don't know of a year except maybe during COVID when Joy didn't bring a group down.
Yep.
And then I don't know if there's other sites. Didn't the group just go to Rosslyn recently?
They do. Yeah. There's a Scotland meeting each year.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, anybody out there who's interested, check it out online. Just Google Sonier Society. You'll find the website, and you can find the Facebook page too.
Great. I'll put the name of it on screen so that you can get the spelling. I didn't put the accents in. I suddenly was blanking on which way the
E. That way.
It was an accent grave or an accent aigu. God knows I wouldn't want to make a mistake. I
just learned that the circumflex in French means that a letter was removed historically.
Really?
So you know the little hat, the circumflex that goes over? So like an hôpital, and there's an S missing. The circumflex means there used to be an S there and it was historically removed.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes I think it's an S because like chateau was related to the word castle. So it has a circumflex over the E. Who knew?
Wow, who knew?
The French, not us.
Knew every day. So what are your plans upcoming? Are you heading back over? Are you?
I am. I'll be there in June.
Because I'm going to probably already be back.
Yep. People ask me, now that Henry's gone, are you still going to go back every year? And I said, yeah.
Yeah. If I can, if I can beg, borrow, or steal my way over there, I will be back.
Yeah. It's my favorite place. I think of it as my second home.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those that might be interested in going, and, if like me, cost is always an issue, or at least a consideration, then I found a great, the cheapest way to go is to fly into Barcelona.
I'm with you. It is. It really is.
Looked, and it's really always less than half of what it is to fly into Toulouse, which is just an hour closer.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
I often fly into Barcelona. One year I got a really, really insanely cheap flight to Lisbon and then hopped over. Yep. Like $350 US.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is great. Yeah. So, it's not completely out of reach. It's not like thousands and thousands of dollars. Also, cheap lodgings down there.
Amazingly cheap.
Everything. There's nothing really to spend money on except
don't fly into Paris. Don't go to Paris.
No, avoid it like the plague. Just come straight down because you will spend all your money in Paris.
Yep, you will.
It's a whole different ball game there. I can see why someone would want to go.
But if that's not your goal, don't take that as your.
Don't take the bait, people.
Yeah. If you live anywhere in the Northeast and you can get to Toronto, flights from Toronto to Barcelona with the Canadian exchange rate are insane. Get to Canada, take that exchange rate.
Oh, wow. We got a
all right, are we
a strange chat going on here in the chat room, but
there's a chat room?
Yes, there is. There absolutely is. But anyhow, we're already at the end of the show. Yep. I'm so glad you could make it. I got to thank Court for putting us in touch.
Thank you, Court.
Yeah, he's the best. And we will be back next week with James Martin, our historian, back from the road with some of his latest findings, and who knows what we'll get into next week. But thank you, Lisa Michelle.
Thank you, Renee. It's a pleasure.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Have a good night, all.